I love it so much. I love it so. It's like the John Williams Star Wars score to me. Like hearing that I get the same feeling that I got when the new. Well, not the newest Star Wars ones, but 1, 2, and 3. Like when 1 came out and we went and we sat in the theater and the score started, like that's just a moment, right? Like there's a huge thing when a new Star Wars movie comes out and you hear that for the first time.
Hell yeah.
That is the same thing for me. Like I just get chills.
Yeah.
Not only is it a brilliant score, but like clearly I love Twin Peaks, right?
Where are we?
Where are we? Oh, hey, what's going on?
Oh, hi. Welcome to Validate Me. This is a podcast. Welcome to season 2 of Validate Me.
I guess that's kind of true.
Watch out. Welcome to season 2 of Validate Me. Validate Me is a podcast where we used to swap, me and my dad and now my mom would swap things we were interested in with each other and make the other consume that media.
That's right.
And so that's how it went for season 1, but we just made a change and we're doing season 1 of the original Twin Peaks.
That's exactly right. So we're going to do
Season
2 episodes of Twin Peaks. Season 1 to start with, and we'll see if we go past season 1, but
We'll see.
it's going to be 2 episodes per episode of this podcast.
Yes.
So today we're doing the pilot and the second episode.
The pilot was not 2 episodes.
The pilot was not. It was as long as 2. It was an episode and a half. It was an hour and a half.
Well, that's normal for a pilot.
Yeah. So
whatever.
what we should have done, we should have thought to say, hey, we're going to do the pilot first, and then we'll do 2 episodes, and then we'll do the finale or something like that. But since it was longer, but we did the first 2. So yeah, so this whole, I guess, season of Validate Me, we're going to be doing Twin Peaks, the original Twin Peaks, the first season, right?
I don't know the new Twin Peaks.
Which I love. This is one of my greatest memories. This was probably senior year of high school for me. Well, it probably came out junior year of high school, and then senior year of high school, I actually got it on tape. And so I watched it almost every day.
So you're the age of, the teen characters in the show.
Yeah, I was actually in high school. I'm the age they're supposed to be.
I said characters, not actors.
Yeah, the characters. That's right. Yeah, the 30-year-old high school students that we were all becoming more and more familiar with.
Wow.
Yeah. So we sat down again as a family. We watched the first 2 episodes about a week ago, and then we all watched them again independently and took notes. And we're going to chat a little bit about Twin Peaks.
Yay.
Which I love. Love it. Watching them again did nothing to damper my enthusiasm.
Yeah, they're really good.
And it's been years since I watched them. Mommy, you said...
That I don't think I've watched it since.
Since it aired.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
So 1990, I'm living
Set the scene.
in Jester Dorm at the University of Texas.
University of Texas at Austin.
Ooh, wait, that was like a house, huh?
It was like an apartment.
Well, yeah. but
yeah. And,
Oh, no, it was nothing like a house.
House. You said something
It wasn't
about
even like
houses.
this.
No, in the dorm.
Yeah.
Which is
In
like
your dorm.
smaller than this room.
One room efficiency, like a hotel room. It's much more like a hotel room than it is an apartment.
With 2 beds.
But like cinder
No,
block
no,
walls.
no, not like a house.
No, you
Not
didn't
like-
really have houses. That wasn't a thing. Like that's nicer
Someone
schools.
said something about it.
Yeah,
I
so
remember
I
one
was
of you was
brought-
talking
like
about
Harvard
houses.
has
Oh, well, no,
houses.
he lived at the Castilian.
Castilian, yeah, but that's a different thing.
Right.
What are those kind of
She's
houses?
talking about like schoolhouses, like Slytherin and Gryffindor and
Yeah,
shit
no.
like that.
No.
But you said it's
Like Ivy League schools sort of have that kind of thing. Yeah.
So, and Shoshana, shout out to Shoshana, she's listening.
Shout out.
She and I were roommates, and she had brought to the relationship this tiny black and white TV.
Yeah.
Tiny.
You get to see the
And we
color.
had to prop it up a little bit on its side for it to work. And that is how we watched Twin Peaks. But we were religious about it. And this is before you could DVR or anything, so you had to be there
Yeah,
at the
so this
moment when it's on.
Just a little
Gonna
high
skip
level
class?
Twin Peaksery. So this was one of the first times, certainly that I remember, that there was this huge single narrative thread through a TV show like this, because you couldn't binge watch, you couldn't DVR, you couldn't go get the DVDs and watch it and do those kinds of things. And so, TV up to this point was very episodic. Like you could just jump into any show. And while they had these big stories that sort of ran for a season, like each show was pretty freestanding. Twin Peaks, not so much. Like, if you come in episode 4 of Twin Peaks, you're pretty lost. Like, you can tell during these first 2, there's a lot of world building and a lot of character introductions and stuff. And so, it was very brave to come in and say, okay, we're going to do a narrative. We're basically going to do a movie. And it's just going to last, whatever, 9 episodes or whatever it is. And, if you don't come in at the beginning, screw you. We don't care. We're gonna tell the story we want to tell. Right. And apparently, it was a pretty big fight. Looking at some of the backstory and how it got produced and stuff. And it was actually was it Eisner maybe that really pushed for it and got it made.
Was it Eisner?
I can't remember who it was. It was someone, along those lines. It was the traditional, like the storybook. One Hollywood executive was super behind it, and everybody else thought it wouldn't work.
I'm addicted to Defunct Land, so that's why I doubt that it was Eisner.
I'll look at
Defunct
it.
Land is fantastic.
There's also somebody else that's like Iger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, Iger.
There's a couple of people that have a very similar name.
Also Michael.
But yeah, that was a big fight, right? And so David Lynch came in with Mark Frost. And so David Lynch and Mark Frost, I think this was after maybe Elephant Man, or maybe Blue Velvet, like one of David Lynch's movies that was relatively popular. They wanted him to direct a movie about Marilyn Monroe. And so they hired him and Mark Frost, who did Hill Street Blues. To put together this Marilyn Monroe movie, and they wrote the script for it, and they kind of got it all put together, but then it all kind of fell apart at the last minute, it sounds like, because I think David Lynch basically wanted to blame the Kennedys for Marilyn Monroe's death, and they wouldn't do it. They're like, we changed her name to like Schmerilyn Schmonroe, and so nobody will know what's going on, and they totally didn't do it. And so that fell apart, and then they wrote a script called One Saliva Bubble, which is actually a really great script. You can get it and read it. Steve Martin was supposed to be in it, but that fell through too.
Okay.
They didn't end up making it. And then they came back, and I think this started during the writer's strike, so they were kind of desperate for content. And so David Lynch came up and said, hey, we want to do this TV show, and I want to do this cop drama crossed with a soap opera. And put together, and you could totally see that if you think about it in those terms.
Yeah, totally.
And then obviously we're going to layer in some David Lynchery at some point.
But we're going to shoot it like a movie.
But it's going to be shot like a movie. It's like I think it was $1 million an episode.
Dang!
They shot one a week. So they actually turned these around one a week and put them together. Like after the pilot, there was a pilot and they put all this stuff together, but then they came back and they actually did one episode a week, which is unbelievable. Yeah. And they spent $1 million an episode, which is pretty crazy at the time too.
Yeah, that's a ton of money. Sorry. I'm dying on the podcast.
Okay, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm emotionally. Physically, maybe not.
Are you choked up by how beautiful it was?
Yes.
Well, the first thing that you notice is the credits are totally different than anything else. Right. And I read that the credits for the pilot are much longer than they started.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah,
they were like 2.5 minutes.
Credits, like a couple people have character names and like no one else does.
Yeah. I know. I noticed that, and then that's what I was thinking. Were they just famous at the time and they were able to write that in?
Yeah, I don't know what they ended up doing.
Yeah, I know. It's really weird because it's just like this name as this character.
But it's very like mood setting, right? Like it's the slow, like so David Lynch like has this like slow burn. It's stylistically, he likes these slow building stories, right? And so Mommy, I know you used to love, or still do, you like Jim Jarmusch. Yeah, like there are directors that have that sort of slow, like even Werner Herzog does some of those things where he kind of slowly builds. And they were some of our favorite directors when we met, and like how this storytelling sort of involved, and so David Lynch has this like beautiful storytelling thing. But what he does better than anyone maybe is like this beautiful like idyllic story with like the seedy underbelly, right? And so he's kind of like he kind of sets the stage for normalcy, and then underneath that he puts like the like seedy side of what's happening in this small town, and then underneath that he puts like supernatural stuff. And so he kind of layers everything, and you haven't really gotten into the supernatural stuff yet.
There's clues for sure.
No, there are clues. Yeah, we'll get into it. You need to stop and cough for a second.
I'm gonna get a water, maybe.
All right.